Good morning everyone, my name is Mrs. Kangwa from Kangwa School. Welcome to another grade 3 lesson in C.T.S. So today in C.T.S we are going to be looking at under food preservation. We are going to be looking at smoking. We are still looking at food preservation. Under food preservation we are looking at smoking. So last time in C.T.S what were we looking at? What were we looking at in C.T.S in our previous lesson? Okay, so in our previous lesson we were looking at food preservation, and under food preservation we were looking at the freezing method, freezing way of preserving what? Food. We said freezing method is where we put food in a freezer, or we put fresh food in ice so that we can preserve it. And an instrument that is used, an equipment or an instrument that is used for freezing is called a freezer or a fridge. We even mentioned different types of foods that can be put in a freezer. Some of the foods that we mentioned are 1. Butter, 2. Chicken, 3. Meat, ice cream, cheese, and so on. Those are just some of the examples of food that can actually be freezed. So today, like I said, we are looking at smoking. Smoking is also another way of preserving what? Preserving food. So I'll ask you this question. What is smoking? What is smoking? Okay, very good. Smoking is a way of preserving food by exposing food to smoke. By exposing food to smoke. Smoking is a way of preserving food by exposing the food to what? To smoke. Okay, so there are different types of foods that can be smoked. There are different types of food that can be smoked. But before we look at the foods that can be smoked, let us look at how we smoke the food. How and what do we use to smoke the food? We know that we can make fire in different types of ways. We can make fire in different types of ways. But in this case, the fire that is usually prepared to smoke food is the fire which is made out of wood. The fire which is actually made out of wood is the best fire that can be used to smoke food. So now let us look at the types of food or different kinds of food that can be smoked. Different types of foods that can be smoked. Different types of food that can be smoked, or kinds of food that can be smoked. One is fish. Okay, one of them is what in fish, is fish. When we go to markets, when we go to different markets, you find different types of fish. You find fresh fish, and you also find dried fish. You also find smoked what? Smoked fish. So like we said, smoking is one way of preserving fish. When fish is being caught by the fishermen, sometimes they have excess of fish. So instead of just keeping it like that, it will easily go bad. So for them to preserve it before they go to the market, they have to do what? To smoke it. So one kind of food that can be smoked is what? Fish. Another kind of food that can be smoked is chicken. Chickens can also be what? Can also be smoked. Chicken can also be smoked, at least to preserve it for a longer period of time when it is killed. So it is smoked for them to at least keep it for a longer period of time so that it doesn't easily go bad. Another type of food that can be smoked is meat. most of our friends, most of us there, we don't have, or we don't use what? This equipment we were naming in freezing method, we don't have a fridge. So actually there they do not rely on a fridge. They rely on these methods. Actually this method can also be called as a traditional way of preserving what? Of preserving food. So they rely on this type of preservation of food to preserve their food. So meat is also a food. It is also a type of food that can be smoked, or that can be that can be smoked. So we mentioned different types of foods. First we said fish, second we said chicken, and then third we said meat. These are some of the food that can be smoked. These are just some. We have many more types of food that can be smoked. We have different types, but these are just some of the examples that can be smoked. Okay, so I'm going to ask you this question. Why do you think smoking is important? Why is smoking food important? Why is it important? Okay, so I'm sure everyone of you got it correct. So number one reason why smoking is important is, one, it kills what? Bacteria. It kills bacteria. Okay, so smoking actually kills what? Bacteria in food. It kills bacteria. We know that the bacteria are actually the ones which are responsible for the food going bad or the food decomposing. They are actually responsible for that. So to avoid that, we have to do what? To smoke our food. Another reason why it is important is that it is one way of preserving food for future use. So it gives us chance to preserve food for future use. Another importance is that it also adds taste to the food. There are some people who just prepare food that is smoked. So this type of preservation method actually adds taste to food. So these are just some importances of why food is done what? Is smoked. Number one, we say smoking kills bacteria. Smoking kills bacteria. Number two, it helps in preserving food for future use. It helps in preserving food for future use. And then number three, we also say it gives taste to food. It gives taste to food. So let us look at this chart together. Okay, so we are saying smoking method. This is a method of preserving food by exposing it to smoke. This is a method of preserving food by exposing it to smoke. We are also saying food that can be smoked. So different types of foods that can be smoked. Number one, we have meat. Two, we have chicken. And then three, we have what? Fish. So the advantages of what? Smoking. Why smoking is important? One is that it kills what? Bacteria. It kills bacteria. Number two, it removes what? Fat from food. Okay, so this one is the one that we didn't mention when we were mentioning the advantages of what? Smoking. It also removes what? Smoking removes fat from what? Food. And then the last one, it preserves food for future use. To preserve what? Food for future use. Okay, so to begin with, in our lesson we said smoking is a way of preserving food by exposing the food to what? To smoke. Smoking is a way of preserving food by exposing the food to what? To smoke. We also mentioned the type of smoke or the fire that can be used to smoke food, the fire that is preferred to do what? To smoke food. And we said to smoke food, we prefer using the fire that is actually made out of wood, or that is actually made out of, that is made out of wood. And then we also mentioned different types of foods that can be smoked. Where we said amongst the foods that can be smoked, we have fish, we have chicken, we also have what? We have meat. These are some of the foods that can be smoked. And then we went on to talk about the advantages of why food is done what? Is smoked. Number one, we said smoking kills bacteria. Smoking kills bacteria. Number two, it is also used to preserve food for future use. To preserve food for future use. It also gives taste to the food. It gives taste to the food. Another one that is not here is that it removes fats. We know to say some meat can actually have a lot of fat. So to get rid of that fat, we can actually smoke it. So smoking is important because one, it also does what? It helps to remove the fat. Okay, so I want us to do an activity together based on what we have learned in C.T.S. today. So let us do an activity together. Okay? So let us go through the question of our exercise together. Number one, what is smoking? What is smoking? So you tell us what smoking is. Number two, list 3 types of foods that can be preserved by smoking. List 3 types of foods that can be preserved by smoking. So you name 3 types of foods that can be preserved by what? Smoking. Number 3, write down one importance of smoking. Why do you think smoking is important? So you just write one importance of what? Smoking foods. You write one importance of smoking food. Okay? Thank you very much for your time. My name is Mrs. Kangwa from Fountain School.